Hello, wonderful clients. I'm missing you. From my house to yours. Good morning. It's Monday morning and we're still in a bit of the unknown. So I know a lot of you will have had reason to already self-isolate. I know that lots of my clients have been self-isolating since early last week, and Jane and I decided to shut the clinic after we had news from Boris about social distancing last Monday. So it's been a week since I saw any of you, and it's strange. It's really strange for all of us, isn't it? So we're all going through a mixture of emotions, some joyous. I don't know, for some people maybe they really wanted to be at home. They've got 1,000,001 things to do around the house and they're glad. Most of the emotions at the moment though will be quite conflicting. So we might feel really angry, we might feel frustrated already. It depends who we're sharing our space with, and I'm going to be talking a lot more about managing sharing space or dealing with creating different spaces for different things if you live on your own, which I know so many of you do. I'm going to be talking about all of that later, but in the meantime, those emotions, they are a mixed bag. I think we've all probably gone on a roller coaster ride the last week thinking, yikes, and then, oh, and then just dismay and desperation, worry, fear, all those different things. So it's almost like we're all going through this huge grieving process, grieving for what we had before. Which is now, we've shut a door on that. So we're all entering into the unknown together. And that's the key. We're all together, but we're all going to feel different things at different times. We're not all going to feel really low all together. Maybe your husband or your wife is actually having a really good few hours and you're thinking, why am I feeling so rubbish? Now that's the nature of moods, and that's something that we always talk about in treatment. How have you been? How have you been emotionally? Because we need to check in with those feelings because they are important, but also they're transient. So one day you might be feeling fine. The next day when I've seen you in the clinic, you've been really low and you've been really tearful and everything's just getting on top of you. So I wanted to read you something that was really helpful out of this book that I actually found on the plane. And for some reason people abandon books on planes, and it's maybe part of that kind of pay it forward kindness thing where you think, oh, I really like that book, I'm going to leave it for someone else. But sadly most of these books get rounded up and then left in the eternal pile of books in the airport to not go anywhere. So over the last 15 years I've kind of accumulated a lot of books that I wouldn't necessarily come across, and one of them is this book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And honestly, if you read this every day you wouldn't sweat the small stuff. You would just be totally zen and a peaceful being. But it's one of those books I get out time and time again because I make loads of mistakes. I don't always react brilliantly to things. I panic, I worry. I'm a complete perfectionist, like most people, control freak, because I live in the Western world and we like to think we control things. And I'm also a procrastinator. So that's a really bad mix of being a perfectionist and procrastinator. So I'm just going to read you something from this, which is about mood. And hopefully it's going to put things a bit into perspective for you. And if you've been procrastinating like me or trying to perfect, then you might find this helpful to hear. Become aware of your moods and don't allow yourself to be fooled by the low ones. Your own moods can be extremely deceptive. They can, and probably do, trick you into believing your life is far worse than it really is. When you're in a good mood, life looks great. You have perspective, common sense, and wisdom. In good moods, things don't feel so hard. Problems seem less formidable and easier to solve. When you're in a good mood, relationships seem to flow and communication is easy. If you're criticised, you take it in stride. On the contrary, when you're in a bad mood, life looks unbearably serious and difficult. You have very little perspective. You take things personally and often misinterpret those around you, as you impute malignant motives into their actions. Here's the catch. People don't realise their moods are always on the run. They think instead that their lives have suddenly become worse in the past day or even the last hour. So, someone who is in a good mood in the morning might love his wife, his job, and his car. He's probably optimistic about his future and feels grateful about his past. But by late afternoon, if his mood is bad, he claims he hates his job, thinks of his wife as a nuisance, thinks his car is a junker, and believes he's going nowhere in his career. If you ask him about his childhood while he's in a low mood, he'll probably tell you it was extremely difficult. He'll probably blame his parents for his current plight. Such quick and drastic contrasts may seem absurd, even funny, but we're all like that. In low moods, we lose our perspective and everything seems urgent. We completely forget that when we're in a good mood, everything seems so much better. We experience the identical circumstances, who we're married to, where we work, the car we drive, our potential, our childhood, entirely differently depending on our mood. When we're low, rather than blaming our mood as would be appropriate, we instead tend to feel that our whole life is wrong. It's almost as if we actually believe that our lives have fallen apart in the past hour or two. The truth is, life is almost never as bad as it seems when you're in a low mood. Rather than staying stuck in a bad temper, convinced you are seeing life realistically, you can learn to question your judgment. Remind yourself, of course I'm feeling defensive or angry, frustrated, stressed or depressed. I'm in a bad mood. I always feel negative when I'm low. When you're in an ill mood, learn to pass it off as simply that. An unavoidable human condition that will pass with time, if you leave it alone. A low mood is not the time to analyse your life. To do so is emotional suicide. If you have a legitimate problem, it will still be there when your state of mind improves. The trick is to be grateful for our good moods and graceful in our low moods, not taking them too seriously. The next time you feel low, for whatever reason, remind yourself, this too shall pass. It will. So I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget, Jane and I are emailing people. We are going to be calling people on a regular basis. You can always send me a message, email, call me if you need me. And also, if you want to schedule a longer call with me at any point, you can. And I'm going to be sending out information on how we can get in touch with each other and actually have a proper, almost treatment style consultation time over the phone and video as well. So in the meantime, stay safe, ride those moods, and this too shall pass, and I'll speak to you soon. Lots of love to you all. Miss you. Bye.